Hello and welcome back to I want to say welcome back to the pod, but I don't know if I can pull it off.
I think you can pull it off.
um, Welcome back to Real Talk with Jesse and Sherrod. Oh my gosh, Jesse, you remember last episode when we were closing out and I was like, oh, I was going to say something and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
You said I would remember. I did. And what it was that we forgot to do our sign off. No
Oh,
juice,
our
no
our
fluff.
yeah, we forgot. Oh my goodness.
So for our listeners who love to hear us botch that each episode, we
Yes.
apologize.
Yes.
And we will endeavor to remember at the end of this episode. Oh, that's good. Our endeavors, our goals. That is such a natural segue into what we're talking about. I didn't even plan that.
That was awesome.
We're just such naturals at this.
I know.
So today, Jesse and I are gonna have a episode where we're just going to talk with each other and y'all about what our wellness goals are for the new year. It seemed fitting with today's episode being on New Year's Eve. So we're going to concentrate specifically on what we want to do again to increase our wellness, our mental health, our bodily health, like what's going to help us feel like we are taking care of our minds and bodies into the new year. And we wanted to touch a little bit on this was something Jesse and I were talking about before the episode about why we are specifically saying our wellness goals rather than our New Year's resolutions. And there's been a lot of talk about kind of changing that verbiage, and nothing wrong with it if it's what you choose to use. But sometimes that term, New Year's resolution can be a bit limiting and also almost be a little bit stressful. I was having trouble figuring out specifically how to articulate that. So then I just literally Googled why is saying New Year's resolution problematic. Not that it's necessarily problematic, but why we might want to consider different words if it fits our wellness better. According to Google, is that the phrase New Year's resolutions can set people up for unrealistic expectations and potential failure because it can imply that significant life changes should happen abruptly or by a single date, which can lead to feelings of disappointment and self criticism if it's not achieved rather than promoting sustainable or gradual improvements throughout the year. So not only that unrealistic expectation or pressure to change too quickly, but I thought it was very interesting that then kind of one of the subtopics of this was that then it makes you focus on a specific date rather than kind of your process and your journey.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really great because, it's great to have goals if that is something that you find motivating and good for your, the way that you process things. I can go either or. Like sometimes I enjoy having, most of the time I don't. If I'm just going to be honest, enjoy having like a set date I want to accomplish something by because then all I do is stress about having to get there rather than what it's like as I make gradual changes or gradual acceptances and things like that. What do you think?
I agree. I feel like when you have like I feel like you said it perfect when you're like it makes you feel like you have a certain date. So I feel like if you have goals, like it's good to have goals, but like I feel like you put a lot of pressure on yourself if you're like, okay, this year by June 1st, I'm gonna be down like 40 pounds and only gonna do this and that. I feel like if for some reason it didn't happen by that date, then I feel like you're kind of really hard on yourself and you like put a lot of pressure on yourself. So it's not really like fun anymore. I think it takes like, I don't know. I feel like we're our worst critics. So I feel like, when we tell ourselves we're going to have goals and when we do like resolutions, which is fine, people can call it, whatever they want to. But I like to look at it as like maybe just like not have a date. That way you're not really pressured. So if you didn't achieve what you wanted, you still can continue going on instead of being like, well, I didn't achieve it by June 1st, like I said I was. So now, I failed. And it's not that you failed, it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, the evolution of the process was just different. And I
Right.
think that is such the difference because resolution can make it seem so pass fail rather
Mhm.
than again like the journey, the growth. Because what if your resolution was to lose 40 pounds and you didn't quite make it, but you lost 20? Or
Right.
maybe you didn't lose any, but like your blood pressure went down, or you incorporated vegetables that you grew, or you learned a new skill or started exercising. Like all of these are things that should be celebrated that you might not remember to if your focus is only on, I have to lose the 40 pounds by this date.
Yeah, definitely. And like there's so much like growth, like just like losing weight. Like you say, like let's say your goal was to lose 40 pounds. But let's say you changed your whole eating habit, you even started like exercising just to, help yourself. And then like let's say you didn't achieve your goal. It's almost like you feel like you fell, but really you just created like so many healthy positives like for you and your body. But because you didn't reach that 40 pounds, it's almost like you discredit what you did achieve. And so I
Yes.
think like just being less harsh on yourself and like not having a date is like the best way to do it, just because that way you're not putting so much pressure on that date or that like a number on the scale too. Like I think people are like, okay, I want to be like 205 and they're like 250, or they want to be 125. They focus so much on that number on the scale, but like let's say they've been exercising, what they fail to realize is muscle weighs more than fat. So what if they have lost weight but gained muscle, but the number on the scale is not what they think it should be. So then they like discredit all their hard work, and then they're upset, like they feel like they failed. And that kind of, ruins it.
And then a resolution, to your point, Jesse, also kind of makes it like, and again, we're just talking vernacular. Using the word
Yeah.
is fine. But that it could imply in your mind of like that you can't pivot the goal or that you
Yeah.
can't change as you learn more. Because, what if your goal was to read 50 books, which is great. Reading's great for you. But
Yes.
as you're on your reading journey, you're like, oh, but actually having this, set number of books is stressing me out. So that's not something that's being as beneficial for my mind as I thought it would be. So I'm going to take my time savoring reading at these points in my life where, so yeah, maybe I won't read 50 books, but I was able to pivot because it's just my goal is to read more, and making it
Yeah.
a little bit more broad. And I get that, sometimes it's important to set little markers for yourself, but I guess really just beyond the words that we say to other people, I think the words we say to ourselves are really important and what that meaning is.
Mhm.
And I know for myself, being like, oh, I have a goal, it's kind of more empowering than like, I have this resolution. It's do or die.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree
So,
with that.
um, So yeah, so we're going to try and take the stress out of the new year and talk
Yes.
about what our goals are and what they mean to us and why. So Jesse, I'll put you on the spot first because I started the sentence. What are your
um
wellness goals?
well, some of my wellness goals for next year is I do want to learn a new language. I don't know which language yet, but I feel like it's important, like I think it would be cool to learn another language. So I definitely want to do that. Just spend more time with my family that I can. I actually do want to lose more weight. And try to get healthier. I don't have a number in mind. I just want to be healthier. Um, just enjoy, kind of like the smaller things more, like kind of get out more and do things. Usually like start Monday through Friday, sometimes I have the weekends off and like I'll be with my nephews, but sometimes I'm tired and just kind of be like, all right, guys, we're just gonna be in our PJs and watch a movie. But I kind of want to get out and see more things, and like be like in nature, like, just see more waterfalls and things like that. Definitely want to take a vacation. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and keep working hard and learning new things, how to help people and be better every day type thing.
That's amazing. So like having like the fulfillment and enrichment of your job, which I know that you love and I love, we love where we work.
Yes, we
Um,
do.
this is not just us sucking up to our boss if she's listening. We really do love where we work. But then I think it can almost be more difficult when you love your job to make sure you are setting that time aside for when you're not working, and that your brain can
Yeah.
fully focus on your personal life.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a balance, because sometimes, in our work and a lot of other people's work, you can just get wrapped into, projects and things, and then you're just kind of like work, 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 work. And then on the weekends, you don't really relax. You're kind of just, trying to do other things. And I think it's important to like like shut it off, like work, just like I think it's important like if you have personal things going on when you come to work, you just shut it off, focus, and then, you know, revisit it later. But I think it's so important to have that balance because, we talk a lot about self-care. And if always working and you're not, on weekends, you're only running your errands and, just kind of catching up. You don't really do something good for yourself that weekend or something that you really like. Then it's almost like you're not, you're just always 24/7 working, even if you love your job. I mean, you still need that me time and that self care time for yourself.
Yeah, because it is, such an amazing aspect of life to work and we do with something that we're passionate about. But just like anything, I mean, you can burn out if you're not taking that time. Our brain doesn't want to have to concentrate on everything all of the time. So being
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
send it the signals of like, oh, we're not thinking about work right now. Now we're concentrating on our nephew or this trip or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Learning a language, that is super impressive.
Yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do. So I tried Spanish when I was in high school, and I just I could not get it down. But that's not to say that I can't do it now. I just was focused on too many things in high school. But I know like it would just be cool just to learn another language, and then I think that's exciting to teach yourself something. Because it takes a lot of self-discipline, and like there's a lot of cool apps that like teach you different languages. So I was like, this would be cool to kind of like learn, even if I only learn the basics. Like it'd just be cool to me.
I love that. I wish I spoke. My husband speaks Spanish and I don't, which is ironic because I'm half Cuban, like literally first generation born in America on my dad's side, and I know no here and there. I can like randomly understand something. I'm guessing just from my grandparents speaking around me. I don't know where it comes from, and I can't speak any of it, and I have a horrible like accent dialect when I try. It's yeah, it's not my skill set. But
I know a few words from like working in restaurants when I was younger, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" And they explain it to me. So I know a few words, but like I would really have to like focus, like because I mean, I get so distracted easily, and then when I learn like a few words, I'm all excited. So I'm like, I just keep repeating those words, and then like I just move on. But no, I definitely want to learn, even if it's just the basics. But I think it would be cool to learn, any type of different language. Um, I think that would be fun. But what about you? What are some of your wellness goals?
So I think my like overall wellness goal is going to be about reducing stress. And I have a few things in mind towards that goal, but I want to give myself room to pivot for trial and error. But, as I've mentioned on our podcast a few times, like I am someone who lives with anxiety. I manage that. I have my tools. I do what I do. But it's almost been like I've been managing my anxiety, but not my stress. And then,
Mm,
of course, that makes my anxiety go up. So, like, some of my root cause right now is just like not managing stress very well. Um, part of like when I'm letting my anxiety take control is that sorry for here's some self-disclosure, but is that I can get very like obsessive or compulsive about things. And that's something I really try and limit because it's not actually healthy for my brain. But I think this year I've been so busy and not managing my stress as well that I have been sure to like eliminate those obsessions or compulsions and fight against them as I know how to and know when my brain is lying, but I haven't been like supplementing them with healthy
right.
coping mechanisms. And so it's like you can't just eliminate the stuff that's not healthy for you. You got to be sure you're replenishing with healthy coping. And that's going to be more of my goal this year. Not sweating the small stuff. Like I was rushing to fold my laundry for no reason before we got started, like kept asking Alexa what time it was because I couldn't even be bothered to just look at my phone. But and I was like, everything really would have been fine if I just waited and folded this, after we were
Yeah.
done. And the dishes don't have to be perfect, and just that kind of thing. And then really, I think part of that for myself is trying to make more time like just for myself. which is not just schedule related. I'm just a pretty extroverted person, and I really get very fulfilled by being around my family, my friends, my husband. Like, I love people and I get a lot of energy from that, but it doesn't necessarily like recharge my battery when I'm getting drained.
Right.
And I think just making some time for myself where I actually am by myself, not even like with my husband, would be really beneficial. I realized that like a couple weekends ago, where both of us at home, my husband and I had just clearly reached a stress threshold about nothing, just a little stuff. And we just both were like, we need to just go to separate corners right now. We're just talking we weren't fighting or anything, but we were like talking nonsense at each other. So he watched TV in the living room and then I went out in the yard. It was like a beautiful day and just stayed in my yard for like 4 hours and read an entire book.
Oh,
And
wow.
I felt completely recharged after that. Now the book was like a reality show star's autobiography because that's what I read. But I was like, "Oh my gosh, spending this time, like, literally by myself was actually so fulfilling for me," and I'm not great at spending time by myself. I get a lot of FOMO, and things like that. So, I think that's something I wanna work towards in, like, managing stress is, like you said, that professional boundary and also making time for activities that are good coping just by myself.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
It's gonna be hard, like, talking about it right now is making me sweat. But I think it's good. So I'm trying to, like, stack the deck in my favor. I'm ordering lots of books that I can have, and things like that. Because I actually really stopped reading as much, this year. I listen to audiobooks and podcasts and things, but I really am one that enjoys reading. I just get a
Yeah.
lot out of that. I'm a fast reader, and so that's gonna, I think, play into, like, part of, like, goals of what I can do just by myself is reading, and then also, like, abstract journaling. I've always used to be someone who loved journaling, and then now journaling stresses me out, so I wanna see if I have a way to, like, try and get back into that, if anything through my own self-absorbedness, because I used to love to go back and just read my journals and, like, see what I was up to.
Mhm.
So or, if anybody ever needs to write a biography about me one day, it'll just
Yeah, there you go. They'll have all
I
your journals.
I always think about that with, like, past presidents and, historical figures, how they're like, "Oh, and here this is from their diary," and I'm like, "Man, thank goodness everybody was writing diaries back then." I mean, I guess every now all history is through the lens of someone's experience, but,
Yeah.
um, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I think I wanna read more too. I'm like you, I enjoy reading books. I like the audiobooks and stuff, but there's nothing like to me, there's nothing better than just, like, getting a good book and just, like, relaxing in your favorite spot and just reading, and I'm kinda like you, like, I read really fast, so, like, I know we had Ellen Hopkins on our show, a couple of weeks ago, and her books are, like, they're at least, like, 700 pages, but they are so good, like, I'll read one of her books in, like, one day. And then I'm mad because I read it one day. So I'm like, "Man, what am I gonna do tomorrow?" But, um, I love reading. I think it's so cool that the places it can take you and, it's really relaxing. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a way to, like, occupy your mind while also creating stillness, which is a
Yeah,
really difficult thing to achieve. Um, well, if you ever need any recommendations for celebrity or reality star autobiographies, I have got that for you.
I appreciate that.
My bookshelf is hilarious. It is either books about suicide or grief or celebrity autobiographies. But
I like autobiographies. I like to read about anybody. I like memoirs. I love all that. I love people, and I think I find people so interesting. So I like to
mhm.
like just read about them, and then like I play like this game on my phone, and it's from like people from different countries and stuff. And I'm always like, so what do you do on your off day? Like, what kind of stuff do you guys enjoy? Like, because it's so cool to like to talk to people from different countries and see like what they enjoy and like how they eat and how they spend their free time and I just think people are so cool. So I have a lot of on my bookshelf is all Helen Hopkins books and like suicide stuff, grieving. But I have a bunch of stuff about different cultures. And one of my passions is cooking. So I have like so many cookbooks. It's crazy. So like that's my bookshelf, and then like different random people that people's probably never heard of, like their memoirs. But I find people interesting, so I'll read anything about anybody because I think it's just everybody's so different. It's so cool to see like other people's perspective and stuff. Even if you don't 100% agree with it, it's kind of cool to see where they got how they feel the way they feel. So I like stuff like that.
Well, and I think even hearing other people's perspective, if you don't agree with it, can even help you like develop more understanding of your own perspective. Cause then you kind of
Yeah.
think into, well, what don't I agree with and why? And it
Right.
helps us to like refine how we do see the world, but also not just only looking at things through our own filter.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it really like when you really like read about other people's life and stuff that they've been through, like I feel like it just opens your mind because some of the things that like back in the day, like I'll read stuff about that and like how people like I don't know if you ever watched the show Alone, but it's like where these people are put somewhere, usually in like Canada somewhere, and they have to like literally they're alone and they have to like learn how to live off the land and they build like cabins like out of wood, out of the trees, and they go build like these homemade fishing hooks and stuff like that. Like it's so cool to see how these people survive. And they did an interview, and and it's just so cool to see like they're all from different areas of like the country and stuff. And it's so cool to hear like their background because you wouldn't think like you just wouldn't know about how one person grew up versus the other person. Stuff like that wasn't out there, but a lot of like their background has taught them how to survive. Because like this one guy, he was from like a village, and that's all they knew, like to survive off the land. And his village was burned down, so he had to like rebuild all that. And so when he actually won the show. I think it was like season 3, but he did really good. Like and just like hearing about what he went through and how he learned all these things, it was just so cool to me. I just find all that stuff interesting. And I think when you learn about other people's culture and things, like it just opens your mind up a lot and you learn a lot, and then you kind of like have a whole new outlook. And then it's like, kind of made me want to go be on alone. I'm like, I don't think I'll survive maybe 3 or 4 days, but it's all good. But I just think stuff like that's cool.
I do too. And well, okay, well, stuff like that stresses me out. But the stuff reading about, like you were saying, like just even like interacting with people in different countries, being like, what do you do on your day off? What you eating today? Like learning that stuff about just like literally people's everyday lives that can be different from yours just purely because you're in a different country, even a different
Yeah.
state, is so interesting to me. And I think just can, again, open your eyes to more than we only know what we experience, you know?
Right. Right.
So, there's nothing wrong with living forever where you grew up or anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
nice in this like age of technology that we can have access to so many other viewpoints, even just the like, here's what I had for lunch in France, type of
Yeah.
viewpoint.
Yeah, to me, like you said, I think like stuff like that's interesting because, like, they'll ask me questions. They're like, "Well, what is people in the United States? Blah 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 blah. What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is what I ate for lunch, and this is what I'm doing later." And it's just cool. It's just cool to interact like that. And then I love YouTube because you can literally search like anywhere. Like I'll watch like beach cams, and I watch like Dubai, and Dubai has some of the prettiest beaches I've ever seen. But like they'll have a beach cam, and I'll just watch people like they're just out there swimming, but they're like their beach, and it just shows different things. And then like I'll watch like international cooking shows and stuff like that to see like what they think is their fancy meal and like what they enjoy and stuff like that. And I think it's so cool to see that because I think like you said, you only really know what you experience and then you only kind of see what's around you except for if you're lucky and you get to go on vacation to another country then you get to experience that but like it's still cool to like still see stuff. I think it just kind of like makes me feel like we're all just one big happy family just doing different things different places and just have different things that we enjoy but it's like it's just cool to see stuff like that to me.
Yeah, feeling so connected to a greater
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have evolved our wellness goals into some plugs for reading and learning, I guess, learning, which is great. So yeah, thank y'all for following us on this journey we just went down. Um, but yeah, this has me pumped thinking about wellness goals and taking care of ourselves. And I do think that can be such the good thing about the new year is that it does give you permission to kind of focus on yourself and what you want to
Mhm.
accomplish. So I think just keeping that in that perspective of course, it's great to have goals or things you want to accomplish or learn, but making sure we're not doing that in a way that adds to our stress, making sure we do it in a way that adds to our wellness.
Yes, exactly.
All right, y'all. Well, we will see y'all. Well, we won't see you, but we'll be back in the new year. Thank y'all for being with us. Again, please reach out to us at realtalk@vialink.org, all one word. Send us your thoughts, your criticisms, your questions, or even any episode ideas. We'd love to hear from you. And you can again catch us Real Talk with Jesse and Sherrod on Spotify or follow us on our Via Link page. That is facebook.com/vialink211. And we'll remember our sign off right now.
All right. Ready?
Yeah. No
No
filters,
filters, no
no
fluff,
fluff,
just
just
real
real
talk.
talk. Nailed it.
Yeah, we did
Happy
great.
New Year, everybody. Keep
Happy New
safe.
Year.